Guys, we are so back with another episode. We really don't have a name for it yet, but Devin did mention the bi-monthly breakdown, which I'm actually kind of a fan of, because we are breaking down the principles and the fundamentals of life. So, whoever's listening, hey, if that resonates with you, let us know in the comments, social media, whatever it is. But
Dude, I
today's,
had an idea. By the way,
let's go.
not to cut you off, I had an idea. I don't have a name idea, but I have a method idea. We
Okay.
should see what ChatGPT thinks we should make the name of this podcast series.
Wow.
I've been listening to all kinds of podcasts about AI and how people are utilizing the technology. I'm like, why don't we let ChatGPT or GPT name our podcast series?
Maybe we let him run with it, or her, or
Let's
it,
do it, dude.
whatever. I don't know if there's
I
a
think
gender, but
it's an it. I think it's a non sentient being. It's just the technologies in the ether, way over my pay
yeah.
grade. But anyway, back to
Anyway,
it. Back to the
so
focus.
last episode's discussion was on discipline, and the
Mhm.
majority of that conversation was more so on theory, and that's all amazing stuff. But today, Devin and I are going to explore more action items, more actionable ways that we can all employ discipline into our lives. And so, before we get into my three and Devin's three, we kind of just want to talk about, well, what is discipline? What is self-discipline? And for me, it's leaning into resistance. It's doing the thing that you least want to do every single day, but knowing we should be doing it. It's living a life by design, not by based on, our feelings that day or that week. So it's having an intent, it's making the sacrifices day to day, and it's understanding really what in life we want to get out of, who we want to become, and just going to work every single day. Um,
Mhm.
and Dev, I want to hear your piece and also the difference between discipline and motivation, because that's a hot topic right now.
Yep. Yep. I think the phrase is that motivation gets you started, discipline keeps you going, right? And I think there's probably it's easy to think that people that you observe that are highly disciplined are super motivated. And I think the reality is, as we were talking offline before we started recording, that motivation wanes, right? Motivation ebbs and flows. And the best of the best, the people that you admire, I promise you, they don't wake up every single day and feel super, super motivated. But what they do is they put systems in place to make sure that they can stay disciplined to the key priorities that they have. And so I also think that motivation can create momentum, and momentum can actually reinstill discipline. Right, one of the greatest motivators that exists for humans is progress. And so we use all the time the analogy of weight loss or physical fitness, just because that's a great platform that we can talk about and apply to a lot of different areas of our life. But if you think about someone who is maybe on a weight loss journey, and when that person gets started, they're probably highly motivated. I got to change my life. I got to drop some weight. I got to get this stuff in order. And in the beginning of that journey, they're going to be highly motivated. And then the one thing that's going to keep them going is as they see progress, right? So that first 5 pounds starts to drop off. That's going to reinforce the habits and the disciplines that they've instilled. And that's actually going to be something that's going to reinvigorate that momentum or that motivation. The problem is that at some point, whether it's in a weight loss journey, a physical fitness journey, growing a business, anything that you're pursuing in life that's difficult and challenging, you're going to hit roadblocks and plateaus. And the best of the best are able to maintain the discipline of action throughout those plateaus and those roadblocks.
Mm.
And so I think it's, yes, motivation is important, right? We have to have a cause and a purpose that we're pursuing. When we execute, progress can reinforce some of that motivation and help us build that momentum. But the default, right? The default system is that we're going to not rise to the level of our objectives or our vision, but we're going to fall to the level of our discipline and the systems that we have in place. And so what we're going to talk about today, for both Christian and I, is what are three tangible systems, ways that we help to instill discipline within our lives. So,
Yep.
Christian, I know you had three that you wanted to talk about. Maybe you can lead it off, and then I'll bring us home.
Great. So my three, just an overview. Number one, understand your values and desired identity. And if we explore that a little further, it's living our life based on what we value. So I value being an athlete. I value being a healthy individual, and I value inspiring other individuals to chase their own dream. And so now that I've understood and solidified those values, I go to work at it every single day. I understand the behaviors, the systems, the habits required to achieve that lifestyle. And in regards to an identity, it's more so a future identity. So it's envisioning the type of person that you want to become. And once sometimes it may take weeks or months or years to even understand who that is, but once you can really lock that down, your behaviors, they're all going to have to align to that person, that identity that you want to become, if you even want a fighting chance. So I think before we even go down the real nuances and actionable ways we can employ discipline, it's first understanding where you want to go. When you have that direction, that's the catalyst for momentum. That's what gets us going. And then we just stack habits and behaviors day after day, week after week, month after month. And you'll look back on your life in a year or 2 years, a completely different person. And so that's for me, number one. Number two, it's finding ways that make you uncomfortable. It's embracing resistance. It's doing things that you don't want to do, because discipline is like a muscle. And just like your pecs or your legs or whatever, muscle group in your body you want to think about right now or conceptualize right now, is the more times you go to the gym and you work on that muscle, over time there's going to be small increases. You break it down in the gym, you recover, you sleep, it grows back a little bigger, a little stronger. Over time there's big changes, noticeable changes. And that's the same with discipline. So the way that I do that in my life is the first thing I do every single morning is I jump in a cold shower. The last thing I want to do the first thing I want to do in the morning is jump in a cold shower, because I go from my bed at 6 a.m. when I wake up, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm pretty comfortable. I could hit snooze one more time. I could do a cold shower tomorrow because today I feel so good, I don't even need it. But just winning that conversation every single day is like that muscle. I'm winning. I'm getting a little stronger. I'm becoming a little more resilient. And the more I do that, the more stress I'm embracing, the more resistance I'm embracing, well, the easier it is to handle stress throughout the day. The easier it is to employ discipline. So part number two for me, or action item number two, is finding ways that make you uncomfortable. And for some people, it could be as simple as just showing up to the gym. It could be as simple as eating a little healthier, taking something out of your diet. It could be as simple as drinking more water if you're not used to hydrating properly. It doesn't have to be super drastic, super extreme, but it's just embracing something that is a little uncomfortable for you. And over time, that discomfort level starts to dwindle.
Yep.
Third thing is I plan my days and my weeks pretty religiously. And so on Sunday evenings before, Monday practice comes around, I sit down right where I'm at right now, talking to Devin with my notebook right in front of me, and I write down, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, game days, either Saturday or Sunday. And I write down what exactly I need to get done on each of those days. So maybe it's, hey, Monday I need one kicking session. Tuesday I need a tackling session. Thursday I need passing session. Every day I need to do my stretching. I need to get in the sauna. I need to get in the cryo chamber here and there. I need to sleep 8 hours, whatever. I write it all down. So each evening I go down, okay, tick, tick. Oh, I didn't get that done today. Okay, where can I fit it in the rest of the week? So there's a quote, why guess when you can know? This is just giving me evidence and data that I've done what I needed to do to be at my best. And this is also instilling discipline in my life, because there's a plan, I'm doing it, and I'll tell you guys what, doesn't mean every single day I want to do all these things. But I know, and I'll bring it back to action item one, I know that complements the identity, the values that I believe in. So it's full circle. So those are 3 action items that you can employ in your life to, I guess, exhibit and really, really implement more discipline into your life. So
Let me
Deb,
ask you,
if you have anything you
where are
want to say
you?
to that.
Yeah. I'm going to add to that. But where are you? What is the tool that you're using to do the planning, and then where are you tracking the daily action items? Is it just in that journal?
Yep, this is just in my notebook.
Just handwritten. Okay, cool. So that's
Handwritten.
going to tie into some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about. So I heard 3 things. I'm going to summarize this, what I heard from Christian. So number one is we've got to have a clear identity of who it is that we want to become. Uh, we will always act and behave in alignment with the identities that we hold. And this is a very powerful thing once somebody understands how to utilize it, but it can also be a really challenging um, roadblock to overcome. Because if I hold on to certain identities, and I see this all the time in business, people have a certain vision of who they are and what they're capable of, and they act in alignment with those behaviors. We have to be willing to tap into this vision of what we can become. You know, one of my favorite quotes, I think I might have shared it in some previous episodes, is that in order to have, you must do. In order to do, you must be. So it's this idea that if Christian wants to be a professional athlete, first and foremost, he has to have that identity, that vision in his mind. And then in order to attain that, there's things that he has to do to be that professional athlete. But while he's doing those things, while he's adopting the behavior patterns of a professional athlete, even though he might not have the contract yet, even though you might not actually be the professional athlete yet, you're behaving in alignment with that person. And so you are actually being, right? So I love that idea of identity. Number two, I'm going to summarize that and say start small. Do something small that builds that discipline muscle. You talked about getting in the cold shower. One of the things I'm a big advocate for is waking up early in the morning. Right? I see so many people that say they wake up at 6:30, they're scrambling around to get into the office by 8, and they're on their heels all day. The easiest thing that that person could do, the smallest thing that they could do that could most dramatically impact the rest of their days and ultimately their life, wake up 30 minutes earlier. Right? I realized for me, the lead domino in my life is waking up at 5 a.m. I would love to sleep until 5:30 a.m. I promise you, I would much rather wake up at 5:30, but I found that 5 a.m. versus 5:30, that 30-minute window is completely life-changing. So that's just one small discipline. That's the first win that I get of the day by getting out of the bed at 5 a.m. So start small. And the third thing is planning. So that's going to tie into some of the things that I'm going to talk about. So my number one thing is around planning, right? Number one, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? You have to have a vision and an objective that you're pursuing. Denzel Washington has a quote. He says that dreams without goals will remain dreams and often will fuel disappointment. So I think everybody has this idea in their mind of like this vision, right? This perfect life that they aspire to. But the problem is, or I hope that most of the listeners have some vision and dream that they're aspiring to. If you don't have a vision of what you want to become, who you want to be, the impact you want to have on the world, that would be stop listening to this right now and go spend some time by yourself thinking about that. We've got to have a dream that we're pursuing. But that dream then has to correlate back to some goals. Now, the process that I've always worked on is having a 3 to 5 year vision. So what do I want my life to look like 3 to 5 years from now, personally, professionally, and financially? And by the way, there's a lot of tools out there on the internet. If you guys are interested, feel free to reach out to me. I can direct you, but go Google 3-year vision planning document, 5-year vision planning document. There's so many resources out there, but I've got to come up with a vision, usually 3 to 5 years. That 3 to 5 year vision then is going to create a 1-year goal plan. So every single year, I always have 3 to 5 primary goals that, by the way, tie back to my values, right? That every single year I am going to put laser focus into, that are going to help put me on the pathway to that ultimate vision. That those annual goals are they going to drive quarterly objectives. So every single quarter, I've got to break those annual goals down into quarterly bite-sized chunks. The quarterly roadmap drives a monthly strategy, breaks down into weekly targets, breaks down into daily activities and habits. My encouragement is that we need to compress the time through which we are evaluating ourselves. Okay? The best of the best are constantly reflecting and evaluating things, not on an annual basis, certainly not on a quarterly basis, not even monthly. It's day to day. It might even be multiple times a day. So vision, 3 to 5 year vision, 1-year goals, quarterly plan, monthly outcomes, and then that weekly strategy, which is what Christian talked about. So I've got to have a plan in place. Number 2 is tracking. Okay, the things that we track, we make progress towards. If you want to lose weight, I promise you the number one most effective, I'm going to break the internet with this. This is revolutionary. The number one most effective way to lose weight, weigh yourself in the morning first thing when you wake up and weigh yourself last thing before you go to bed. Do nothing else. Just do that. Weigh yourself in the morning, weigh yourself at night, and write it down. I promise you, if your goal is to lose weight, your subconscious is going to attach to that, and you're going to naturally start changing behavior. Because we're tracking it, our behavior is going to change. So we have to track the things that we're pursuing. There are a lot of resources out there. So there are a lot of online or app-based trackers. Just go to the App Store, Habit Tracker, right? You can create a customized platform of what are the habits that I want to track. For me, I've found that there's power in having a tangible tool. So I've got this crazy calendar here that you see sitting on my desk. This basically is my monthly roadmap that outlines what are the things that I need to get done each week, each day, and it correlates back to those quarterly outcomes that we're pursuing. I like the fact that it's big, it's in my face, it's got a lot of colors on it, right? Like I can't avoid it. So that is something that has worked well for me. It's a visual reminder every single day that's in my presence. The other thing that I've found a lot of success with, I talked about this last time, it's a little bit of a twist on a Goggins concept that I call the accountability mirror. But every night, at the end of the night, I'm checking the box, right? If I did my workout and I ate on protocol, I get a check with a slash through it. If I did my workout, ate on protocol, but I had a cocktail, right? And then if I just completely, was off the rails, it's an X. Right? And really quickly at the end of the night, or as I'm looking at that mirror, I know, hey man, I'm having a really good week. I'm having a great month, or I've got this streak going, right? And back to the point about momentum, it's right there in your face. It's this constant reminder that you can build on. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about this. By the way, I'll just talk about this now. So Christian and I have no affiliation with anything, any product. I think this is actually a Michael Hyatt product. This is called the Full Focus Planner. By the way, if anybody at Full Focus Planner ever gets this, I probably sold 10,000 of these things for you over the years. So if you want to give me a kickback, much appreciated. We'd love some sponsorship. The Full Focus Planner, guys, takes everything we've talked about and puts it into one document, one journal that you can carry around. It's built with annual objectives, breaks down into quarterly targets, and it's all here in one journal. It's like $50, but use it. I've recommended it to so many of my team members, and it's literally changed people's lives. It has all the stuff that we're talking about in here. And so if you're looking for one place that you can really leverage a lot of these strategies, I would encourage you to think about the Full Focus Planner. So planning, tracking, and then the third thing is the power of connection. Bring in an accountability partner. Invite somebody else into your journey. So we haven't talked about this, but about 5 years ago, I was on a bike ride. And when I ride my bike, I'm oftentimes listening to podcasts. And I've always been inspired by Tim Ferriss, Rich Roll. Like those are some of the people that I follow really closely. And I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to do some different speaking and coaching and leading throughout my career. And I've thought, man, I'm going to start a podcast. So 5 years ago, I came up with this brand. I had this idea. I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast. And then a year went by. Another year went by. And here I am. I've never done anything with the podcast. And then Christian's like, dude, I'm doing this podcast. Let's do twice a month. We're going to get a series going. And so through relationship, through connection, through being invited into someone else's journey, I've actually now made more progress on this idea of doing podcasting than I had made in the previous 5 years. So I'm like, what an idiot. You knew that. You should have 5 years ago just tried to partner with somebody to do the podcast, right? Yeah. So that could be hiring a coach. It could be a personal trainer. If finances don't allow for those types of things, go and get somebody that you care about, that cares about you, and say, Christian, it's really important to me this year. I got to get my health and fitness in order. I'm committed to going to the gym 5 days a week. And every day I'm going to text you when I leave the gym. And if you don't get a text from me by 10 a.m., would you please reach out to me and make sure that I got my ass to the gym? Like, there are so many ways to invite other people in, and we naturally want to do things that are going to further connect us to other people. And so leverage the power of the human spirit and bring other people into your journey And I think if you can have clarity on what you want, have a plan around it, you're tracking it with consistency, and then you invite other people into it through the form of accountability, I think you've got all the tools in place to make progress on anything that you want in life and really implement discipline in a really profound way.
No, Dev. I mean, I thought you just touched on each one of those perfectly. I think it all comes back to the vision.
Mm-hmm.
That is the basis of all of this discipline. Because if there's no like, you're not gonna do stuff, or you're not gonna make sacrifices for no reason.
Right.
Like, I could look back in high school, saying no to so many things. I getting up 4:30 when I was living outside of the city to go to morning workouts. Like, there was something in me that just drove me to do it, and it was because the vision was, I want to play professional sports.
Yeah.
Having that vision of who I wanted to become was the catalyst and was the reasoning and the backbone behind all of the discipline. So, people look at me like, dude, he's so motivated, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, I'm motivated, but I know where I want to get.
Yeah.
And I think if people took more time out of their day to even just get in their notebook and write, where do I want to go? Who do I want to become? What do I want to accomplish today?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to give them more direction. That's going to give them almost like, I don't know what the word is, but that's going to give them a stronger ability to be disciplined, because there's
Yeah.
a reason behind why you're doing stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you don't have an outcome that you're pursuing, you're easily just going to be defaulting to whatever's coming at you, right? It's like this
Yep.
idea of living proactive and intentional versus reactive.
Yep.
And I think you touched on a good point that we have to have some vision of the future, something in this exciting in the future that we're pursuing that's informing the decisions that we're making on a day-to-day basis. And I think oftentimes people will default and maybe not blame, but they almost make the excuse of why they're behaving the way they're behaving because of the circumstance they're in. And more often than not, it's actually that, well, you don't have a vision of what it is that you want. You don't have anything that you're pursuing. I think the worst place to be in life is to not have something meaningful that you're pursuing.
Mm.
And so maybe a takeaway, and this is probably another session that we can do a recording on, is what's the process of creating a vision? And this is something I've worked on over the years with a lot of the advisors that I've led and people that I've worked with and coached over the years, that the ability to craft vision and the process of crafting vision, there's an art form and there's a skill to it. And I think that part of what often happens, and maybe this would be another episode that we can talk about, is, well, let's say I've got this great vision. Well, now what do I do about it? Right? And in the pursuit of that vision, how do I maintain focus and a willingness to keep showing up when I am inevitably in hitting resistance, having roadblocks and challenges that I'm facing? But it all starts with it. So I think we covered some good stuff today, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully
No,
it's helpful. Go buy the Full Focus Planner. By the way, if anybody knows anybody at the Michael Hyatt Company,
Yep.
tell them to give us a kickback, because I've been pushing this thing for a decade and sold a lot of them.
we could use a sponsor like that. If anybody else knows somebody, let us know. We're gonna get back to you guys on the Chat GPT, see what it spits out at us. We'll let AI take over, because unfortunately it's kind of scary. That's the way it's going right now.
It's like
So
it's taking over everything, right? Yeah.
man. So hey, for everybody listening, that's 6 action items to become more disciplined, self-discipline, and it all comes back to having a vision. And that's something that Dev and I are going to definitely explore in a future episode. So as always, thank you for your time. Follow us on Instagram, follow The Chase, and let us know future topics that you guys want to hear. We appreciate it more than you know.
Peace out.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
See y'all.